Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing an Eldlich Numeron deck profile. So this is an insane meta deck that's probably one of the most powerful control OTK based decks that has ever been released in Yu-Gi-Oh! It is simply an amazing deck that actually summons out some of the most powerful monsters in the entire game, with giving you monsters like the Numeron gates to be able to OTK your opponent, and the main deck being able to say no to pretty much anything because it plays so many different negates. It's insane. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting a signed card sent to mail, or even getting a requested deck profile just like this one alongside with test hands. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this one. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Eldlich the Golden Lord. So Eldlich the Golden Lord is basically the big boss monster, one of the big boss monsters of the deck. And you can use this card's effect to send this card and a spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard, and then you target a card on the field and send it to the graveyard. It doesn't destroy, it just sends it to the graveyard, which is what's really cool about this. It's just a nice removal card, and it also has the ability to, if this card's in your graveyard, you can send a spell or trap you control to the graveyard to add this card back to your hand. Then you can special summon a zombie from your hand, which is always going to be him that you're going to be special summoning out. And if you do, until the end phase of that turn, until the end phase of your opponent's turn, it gains 1,000 attack and it cannot be destroyed by card effect. So it goes up to 3,500, and you get to send something to the graveyard, which is really good. It's a really insane good card, and it does hold its $100 price tag. I mean, it's a really good card. This is the meta deck right now. We then play 3 copies of Numeron Wall. Numeron Wall is a pretty interesting card that it's really, really cool to me what this card does. It actually uses the ability to get out your copy of your Numeron network, because if you control no cards except Numeron Wall, you can quick effect send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to activate a Numeron network directly from your hand or deck. And you can only use this effect once per turn. And when you take battle damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, until the end of the battle phase, and until the end of after the battle phase, which is really cool. I like that effect to be able to just instantly special summon it. And it also gets your Numeron network onto your side of the field very, very quickly. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. The 3 Ash help out the deck quite a lot to be able to say no to your opponent with just about anything that they activate that's going to be special summoning from the deck, special summoning from the, sending from deck to graveyard and stuff like that. 2 copies of Nibiru, just in case your opponent tries to swarm you, which is usually not going to happen in this deck. I like playing Nibiru just as kind of like my emergency card that I have just in case my opponent is going to try and special summon and I do get pushed to go second. It's kind of like one of those cards that's like, okay, I can still deal if I have the Nibiru going second. But if you feel like you're going to be going first and you're winning a lot of the die rolls, you can drop the 2 Nibiru, play 2 DD Crow, play 2 Effect Veilers. You can use this essentially as a hand trap slot that you feel like you need for your particular meta that's going around in your area, or what you feel like you need for your hand traps. I feel like the 2 Nibiru is prime for me. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. It doesn't play a lot of monsters. So, for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave, because you're going to want to stop your opponent while you're trying to search the deck, and if your opponent activates any sort of hand trap against you, then you can just instantly stop it with the copy of Call by the Grave, which is what's really nice about this card. We play 1 copy of Elixir of White Destiny. White Destiny is really good because it lets you special summon a zombie monster from your hand or graveyard, but if you do not control an Eldlich, then you can only special summon Eldlich, which is what's really cool about this card. And it also has the ability that during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck. All of the Elixir share that ability that you can banish them from the graveyard to set golden lands, and then all the golden lands share the ability that you can banish them to set Elixirs, which basically they kind of bounce back and forth to what you need. We then play a single copy of Elixir Black Awakening. Black Awakening lets you special summon from hand or deck, just like White Destiny lets you special summon from hand or graveyard, which is what's really cool about the Elixirs, because they basically let you special summon from different areas, and they all have the combination between hand and graveyard, graveyard and hand, or graveyard and deck, or deck in hand. It kind of depends on which one you grab, and then you can banish them to put the golden lands face down. We then play 3 copies of Cursed Eldland. Cursed Eldland is really good because it lets you pay 800 life points to add an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck to your hand. And if this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, you can send an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck to the graveyard, which is usually always going to be your copy of your golden land, so you can then get an Eldlixir. And also, you cannot declare an attack except with zombie monsters, which is not that big of a deal, but you kind of want to watch out for that when you're playing your Numeron monsters, because that can really hold you back. That's really the only kind of drawback with this deck. We then play 3 copies of Numeron Network. Numeron Network is bonkers in this deck. It's really an insane card. What this card does is basically it lets you send from your deck to the graveyard your Numeron Calling, which we're going to be playing at 2 copies. And then it basically lets you activate the Numeron Calling from deck, which is what's really cool. Because during your main phase, you can send a Numeron normal spell that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the graveyard, and then this card's effect becomes that card's effect. And you can only use its effect once per turn. And then Numeron monsters you control can activate their effects without detaching materials. So basically, when you special summon them off your copy of Numeron Calling, none of your gates have to detach to activate the effect, which makes it so you can OTK your opponent and go into Utopic Zexal, which makes it really insane. Numeron Calling, if Numeron Network is in your field spell zone and you control no monsters, you can special summon up to 4 Numeron Gates. XYZ monsters with different names from your extra deck, but banish them during the end phase, and you can only normal summon or set once during this turn, which is not that big of a deal. Usually, if you're going in for this particular play, you're not going in for the Golden Lord. You're usually just going to go straight in for your copy of the Utopic Zexal if you're going first. If you're going second, though, you're going to put all of your copies of your Numeron monsters on the field and then just OTK your opponent. That's usually what you do with this, which is what's really cool. Now we're going to be playing 2 cards of a card that I think is going to potentially get banned on the next list, if it hasn't already by the time I make this video, which it probably won't. I'll probably drop this way before the ban list, but I think what this card is going to do is it's going to be so broken that it's going to be... I didn't know I was playing Uno with this deck, but I am. This is a wild draw 4 card, but for you, if you have your Numerons on the field, it lets you draw cards equal to the number of XYZ monsters with different names you control. It's just that simple. So basically, when you activate Numeron Calling and you put your gates on the field, when you put all 4 of your gates on the field, you can just instantly draw 4 cards, which is what's really insane about this card. It's a +3 off of the Numeron Network. If you get Numeron Network and Memories of Hope on your side of the field, you essentially get to send this to graveyard, get your 4 monsters, draw 4, set 5, and then go into the Utopic Zexal, pass. Your opponent can't do anything because they're going to get Utopic Zexaled on their turn unless they have a copy of Impermanence or a copy of their Effect Veiler or something like that during your turn. But unless they have Impermanence or Chalice, they're pretty screwed. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Yes, I'm still proxying these. I don't know why I haven't gotten a hold of these. I just haven't gotten a hold of them yet. But basically what this card does is it lets you target... It's basically Effect Veiler, but it negates everything in the column. You can activate it from your hand as well, if it's set this turn, which is what's really cool. It's a good card. It's just really, really, really good. We then play 2 copies of the Golden Lands guy. Well, this card's really cool because it special summons as a trap monster with 1800 attack and 1500 defense. And when it's summoned, while you control a Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can banish 1 card from either player's graveyard, which is usually really good to be able to just instantly disrupt your opponent by banishing something. It is a level 5 monster, so you can go into Constellar Pleiades as well if you put 2 of your level 5 light monsters on the field. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to set an Eldlixir spell or trap directly from your deck, which is what's really good about this. We then play 3 copies of Conquistador. Conquistador, when it's special summoned as a trap monster, it does only have 500 and 1800 defense, which is not that great a stat line. But what's really good about this card is it lets you target 1 card on the field and destroy it when it's split face up. So it's essentially like an instant removal, and you get a monster on your side of the field, and then you can use any of these 5 to go into your copy of your Pleiades, which is what's really, really, really good about this. We then play 3 copies of the Eldlixir Scarlet Sangria. This card is really good in the deck. This card is one of the cards I think personally is going to get limited, maybe to slow the deck down, but what this card does is you special summon a zombie monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, or Eldlich monsters, you can only special summon an Eldlich monster, which is the big golden lord. That's what you always summon off this card. You can banish from your graveyard and then set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck, which is what's really good about this card, is setting that Eldlich monster, or putting the Eldlich on field, and then being able to put a golden lands on your side of the field as well. We're playing a single copy of Golden Lands forever. It's basically an Infernity Barrier when a spell trap or monster effect is activated while you control an Eldlich monster, which is the big golden lord. You can negate any of those cards and destroy it. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment as well. The Judgment's always live because you always have to pay unless you've lost the duel, which is what's really cool about this card and why I love playing Solemn Judgment at 3 in this deck, because it's a very control-based deck along with being an OTK deck with the Numeron engine in here, because before you actually played this deck, and it was more of a control with Invoked, where it was, you were looking for, a more control base with Invoked, and it wasn't quite OTK, but this is the OTK control build, where you can set the 3 judgments, set the golden land, have the impermanents, have the hand traps, have the Eldlich on the field, and then go for Numeron on the next turn and OTK your opponent. I mean, that's just what the deck does, and it does it extremely well. Okay, so that's it for the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of number C1, the Numeron Chaos Gate Sonya. What this card does is you can overlay it on top of a copy of your Numeron Gate number 1. And what this card does is if this card is XYZ summon, you banish all monsters on the field, and then once returned during your standby phase after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card, and if you have Numeron Network in your field spell zone, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined attack of all banished XYZ monsters, which is usually going to be like 4,000, but you just make this to basically board wipe. It's just a big board wipe that's really good on the field. You do this before you set all your cards, and then you set your back row, and then go off from there, and then your opponent has really nothing to react with. If they can't stop this, then they're not going to stop anything else. We then play 2 copies of the gate number 1. All of your gates share the same effect, so we're just going to go through it one time. They can't be destroyed by battle, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can detach a material from this card and double the attack of all Numeron monsters you control until the end phase of the turn. So, they all share that effect. Gate number 2, you play 2 of. Gate number 3, you play 2 of. And gate number 4, you play 2 of. Now, you can cut gate number 4 down to 1 if you want to cut gate number 4 down to 1. But what this card does, basically, they have the ability, they all take 3 level 1 monsters. You're never going to legitimately summon them in this deck. But what they do, basically, is if you have Numeron Network on your side of the field, they don't have to detach. And what you do to actually get them out on your side of the field is activate the Numeron Network, use Numeron Network's effect, send Calling to Graveyard, special summon 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you have all of them on the field. Attack your opponent. You don't have to detach because of Numeron Network. Swing at your opponent. They take a solid 1,000, double the attack, 2,000, 4,000, and then finally the last attack is always 8,000. If they live through it and they don't actually, go out with that, you can go into Utopic Zexal or Megaclops, or even Soryuja Skulldread if you want to. It depends on what you want to link into. You can put any link 4 that you want to in the deck, because you can link all 4 of these away to be able to go into a monster if you want to. If you don't, you can just go into Utopic Zexal, which is going to stop your opponent, which we play as a 1 of right now. I anticipate this getting banned on the next list. If it does, you can play an Appaloosa if you want to, which is going to probably do about the same thing, close to the same thing with all the back row negation that we have. But basically what this card does is, the big effect of this card is that it gains 1,000 attack for each material is attached to it, and then once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can detach an XYZ from this card, and then your opponent cannot activate cards or effects this turn. They can't activate anything. Like, it just speed spell force their entire turn, and they basically have to pass, because they can't activate anything, and this card is absolutely busted. We then play a single copy of Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Gustav Max does an additional 2k. Use 2 Eldlich Lords to go in this card, which is pretty good. We play a single copy of Pleiades, because you can use the trap monsters to go into Pleiades to get you bounces. Infinitrack Megaclops. Megaclops is the next best thing next to your copies of your Numerons. Arguably better than your Utopic Zexal, to be honest, because you use 3 of your gates to actually go into your Megaclops, and then it makes it so it's unaffected by other monster effects, except those of XYZ monsters, and it cannot be destroyed by battle except with an XYZ monster. So the only way to actually get rid of this is with, like, Utopia Double, and if your opponent's not playing Utopia Double, they're in a really bad situation with this card. We then play a single copy of Skulldread. Skulldread's really good in this deck because you can link away all of these, all 4 of them. They have different names. You could draw 4, and then you get to, and that's your last special summon because you only get special summon 1 more time after this effect activates, after you use the Numeron Calling. You draw 4, fix your hand a little bit, get some more negation, put back what you don't need, and then draw, you get a +1 essentially off of this. And then we play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix because sometimes you need to pop spells and traps, and I don't mind discarding in this deck because I can just banish my cards from the graveyard to be able to set the opposite ones, like Golden Land sets the Elixirs, and the Elixirs set Golden Land, so it depends on what you need. So that's it for the deck, guys. It's an insanely good deck. It's really, 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 really consistent. I love this deck. It's really cool, but I really think it's going to get hit on the next list. If it doesn't get hit on the next list, we all know why, because Konami's right now not really hitting anything, but this deck will probably, even if they hit, you know, even if they put the Eldlich the Golden Lord at 1, this deck would still be meta. Like, it's that consistent and that good. So, that's it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. Definitely tell us what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. And check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome words for you guys. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.